All right, it's time for the ultimate camera test between the Oppo Find N6 and the Motorola Razr Fold. We're going to go ahead and do a deeper dive on the photos and we're going to pixel peep. So stick with us and we're going to do everything from daylight to nighttime and videos. Let's go. Now, as you see, I've got them both pulled up here and I'm out playing disc golf, and this is a great time for me to take some photos because it's usually a pretty area, but when you do these ultra wide shots, they never look really good. But anyway, this is it. And down the way, we can see that there is a water processing plant, an old one that's no longer there or functional, but it's right along the river. And this is our target for this photo shootout. So what we've got going on here is both are doing, this is your standard 1 by, I believe, yeah, 23 millimeter. And you've got a 1.8 f-stop here, and over here 1.6. So this one allows more light, so it should be brighter. And you can see that right here in the trees. You can see that there's a little more detail where things are a little bit darker, more shadows here. So the shadows are lifted a little bit better because of the f-stop. Basically, it allows more light in. But they're both close to the same range. You got 24 millimeters versus 23, so they're not quite set exactly. And your main camera on the Oppo is a 200 megapixel lens versus a 50 here on the Motorola. So if we click in, we should actually get more detail on the Oppo, except the fact that it's not allowing as much light in. So let's see what we got here. And with a couple clicks on both of them, there is no pixelating going on both of them, but you can definitely see that this is a brighter image, allowing more detail versus the darker. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more, or crop in. And as you know, the difference between cropping is after the fact, where zooming is with the camera beforehand. Okay, going in this far, you can definitely see the detail is better, which things really start to get pixelated here on the Motorola. That's simply because we got 200 versus 50. But as far as zooming in or cropping in this far, who's going to do that? This is not something you would normally do on a regular basis, cropping in. If you want to get closer, you're going to zoom. You're going to use the camera's features to do that. So this comparison is just so we can see where they pixelate. So as far as the camera, okay, you have a 200 megapixel, but I like the lighter image that we get with the Motorola. Now, when we go to zoom in, now this is the actual zoom, and I believe I went straight to 3 times, and there is a 2 times, but I'd rather just go straight to 3 times. Now, what's really interesting here is we have 2.7 now versus 2.4. You still allow more light in here on the Motorola, but for some reason, the Oppo looks brighter. And that's interesting. I'm not quite sure why it's brighter. As you can see here, we're about the same range, 70 and 71. So it's very comparable. What do you think? Which one is preferred here? And now here's the deal. At 3 times, did Oppo switch to their 50 megapixel lens? I think so, and maybe that's why it's brighter. They switched to a different lens, and I cropped in a couple times on both of these, and we'll see what happens here. Now, how are they looking? You can see quite a bit more light on the Oppo. I don't know. What do you folks think? Is it clearer? I mean, can clearly see more because of the light, you know? And let's crop in just a little bit more so we can really pixel peep on that building. And I really like this building because there's a lot of local artists that like to really paint on this building, and it changes all the time. It's never the same. As a matter of fact, where you see the U right there, that used to say, "You are loved." I hate that they actually painted over that, but they did. So how's it looking here, the clarity? Let's see that road. I think, they're both pretty comparable. I think because it's a little brighter image, it might look a little clearer on the Oppo. So I might give this one to the Oppo, but it's really, really close between the two of them. Let's go on in. Now we're going into 6 times. They natively have that 6 times zoom on both of them. So we're at 139 versus 142 millimeters. Now we've stayed with the same lens, it looks like, here on the Oppo, because both of them. We got 2.4 and 2.7. So it's the same lens. This is the 50 megapixel zoom lens on both of them. But look at the two of them. Which one looks better here at 6 times? You can see them both pretty equally. I didn't quite capture them at the exact same spot, but let's go ahead and zoom in on this orange area and see what we can find here on both of them. But look at the detail. Zooming in this far, I think this tile look, you get a little bit more detail here on the Motorola. So I think as we get in closer, we're getting more detail here. So what do you think? Is it popping more? Is it clear here on the, it's interesting because now it's looking lighter here or brighter on the Motorola than it is on the Oppo. They are just so close and so compatible. I don't think I can make a decision here. And then we've got, these are 10 times on both of them. And the 10 times looks really good, very competitive here on both. And we can zoom in and pixel peep a little bit. You can actually see into the shadows there in the background. How about here? Can you pick out any detail in the shadows here? You can actually pick out just a little bit more detail in the shadows here, but it does not look any clearer, I don't think. Actually, this one might look a little clearer here on the Oppo if you look at some of the detail. I mean, these are just so close, but the Oppo, I think, is just a tad bit cleaner. You guys let me know down in the comments. What do you think on this? This is pretty crazy. Now, just for fun, I went 100 times on both of them. Look at this. This is 100 times, and you can make out what the object is here. I think it's actually a little cleaner because of maybe AI. Well, they both are using AI. I think it looks a little more detailed and cleaner here on the Motorola. But this is crazy. Go back to this image here, and if I show you what we're zooming in on, we're zooming in on that spot here. Okay, yeah, you can see what it is here, and it looks cleaner or more focused anyway on the Oppo, which is interesting. But when we went in all the way, and of course you can't see it from way back here, I guess you can. Let's see. But that's crazy. I'm zooming in, folks, from this far, and we're seeing that detail. That is incredible. So is there a real use case for a 100 times zoom? Maybe not, but at least in this instance, you can see, check it out. You can actually make it out. You can see the shape, you can see the design, and that's not even at 100. This is the 100. That's right. You can actually make it out. You can even see the cracks in the walls. That is crazy. Now that's something you can't do with a Samsung or an iPhone for sure. Maybe the Pixel, but definitely not the Pixel Fold. Now let's go right into the nighttime shots. As you can see here, I did not turn on the watermark for the Oppo. It's only on the Motorola, but at least you can see which one is what. And Motorola just left the darkness dark, where here it lit up the sky. So, this will be personal preference, and you can see that on all of the shots. Well, let's go ahead and zoom in. This is a 200 megapixel lens on the Oppo. They're both kind of blowing it out, but I do think there is a little bit more clarity here for sure. Too much AI at work over here that things look really horrible. So let's go ahead and go to the next one where we actually zoom in 3 times. The 3 times looks pretty good at this distance. I like how the Motorola is lighting things up a little bit better so you can actually see this building. And I like the blue sky, even though it doesn't look like that at night. It is black. So as far more authentic, you got over here on the Oppo. But let's go ahead and zoom in a couple clicks and see what we're getting here. Okay, now we're cropped in on both of them, and you can see here, um, they're both pretty compatible. I think the Oppo is blowing things out just a little bit more. You got a little bit more clarity, I think, all around here on the Motorola. And yes, this was done on a different night, but the sky is the same. I mean, night is the same at night. Let's go ahead and click in one more or maybe 2 more and just take a closer look here. And you can see that there is just a little bit more clarity here on the Motorola. And you can see it on the tattooing sign, and you can see that there is a little bit of a signage here. But of course, they are both pixelating at night. I don't think you'd really want to crop in all that much on both of them. Instead, zoom in. So let's do a 6 times zoom, which is what we got right here, and see how they do. I think they're both doing really well. And I'm liking how they are both handling this fluorescent lighting. I think you still get a little bit more blown out here on the Oppo, just barely. Let's go ahead and do a couple clicks in so we can see the detail here. more couple clicks in. Is there an advantage to having cars there? Are they reflecting light up? But as you can see here, they're both doing pretty much the same. Matter of fact, there's more pixelating going on right here on the Motorola, so I think that might be some of the AI artistry that's really kind of messing things up. Let's go into 10 times on both of them. Here's 10 times, and 10 times, although it's darker, it looks a little cleaner over here on the Oppo. This one looks really starting to look pixelated already. And if we go ahead and do a couple clicks in, you can see that tattoo sign is not visible at all. So as you can see, that 10 times zoom is actually working for the Oppo really well. And it's much clearer. Maybe I moved on this one. Maybe that's what happened. Let's go in another click. Okay, this is 20 times on both of them. And what do we got? So you can see the clarity is still really good here on the Oppo, and on the Motorola, it's actually this is tattooing. I don't know what this is trying to say. So AI is not working really well, and that sign behind it's completely gone. So I think the Oppo actually beat out here on this zooming at night. Now moving on to portraits at night, the Oppo, I like the coloring a little better here. At least I have some color here. It's kind of dull here, but at night, is it duller? I don't know. Maybe they're processing added a little more color, but I think they're both really doing well. I guess there's more light being added here because even the jacket, you can see more detail. So the Oppo does allow a little bit more light here. Let's do a zoomed in one here. These are pretty much the same. Oppo looks a little, well, I don't know. For some reason now, the Motorola looks a little brighter because I don't have the readings. I can't really tell you what's going on here. And then go in one more. I think they're pretty comparable, compatible, or whatever you want to call it, on their selfies at night. So it's not something I'm big on. I don't do a lot of selfies. So you guys can be the judge on this. Now moving on to nighttime video between the two of them. Right away, you can see that the Oppo, man, it's got a lot of jello going on there. I don't know what's going on. So stabilizing is not very good at night. I mean, they both have stabilizers, so I don't quite understand it. It's that 50 mega or that 200 megapixel lens maybe it just doesn't quite stabilize very well. I mean, they're very compatible as far as the clarity, but that jiggling just, oh, not that the Motorola doesn't have any, because you just saw there it did have some, but nowhere near as bad as the Oppo. So the main thing to point out on the night video is that jelloing that went on with the Oppo. A little bit with the Motorola, but a lot more with the Oppo. We found the same thing with the Samsung. The Samsung Z Fold 7 had a little more jelloing than the Motorola. So I think the Motorola is pretty much the nighttime video king as far as foldables go. Well, there you have it, the Oppo Find N6 versus the Motorola Razr camera comparison. As far as I'm concerned, I think the Razr won on this comparison for most parts. Now, Oppo did do better on zooming at night photography, but as far as photos, I think this was much more, or video, this is much more clear on the color, and then at night, less jelloing. Now, if you have both phones and done your own tests, let us know what your results were down in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, now's a great time to do that. And make sure to give me a thumbs up if you got anything out of this content. If you haven't seen the rest of the battle where I compare everything else on these two phones, check out this video here. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.